Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Stone of Destiny, Juniper Samoni, Trilogy Book 1 by Nadine Travers, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. Juniper. In the gathering place again, I take a breath. The air carries the scent fresh, almost cold, of witch magic. The ceiling and walls are made of wood, centuries old. Still healing from my last mission, I've been summoned by the elders, the sages of the witching world. Child, enter the circle of truth, a voice commands. I didn't see them come in, so I jump a little. 5 elders take their seats in the circle that's been drawn on the ground. I approach the gold circle, the edges etched in a pattern I don't recognize. Elders, you summoned me? You have news, Juniper. Disturbing news. You must tell us everything. I take another deep breath and enter the circle. It alights as I step in, turning brighter, twisting and wiggling as though made alive. I study the 5 elders. Their age as well as their power are mysteries that would frighten some members of my faction, but I know elders want the best for us all. I close my eyes, letting the light and the energy of the circle of truth fill me. I surrender myself to it. I was in a jungle corridor. The luscious green walls of a maze in the Amazon rainforest stood tall all around me. I answered the call to rescue the toadstone. Someone wanted to take its power for themselves. Along with the Supernatural Intelligence Agency, we were investigating an organized team of powerful individuals that we suspected of working against our community. Give the stone to us. I turned around and considered the 3 of them, a demon, a vampire, and a werewolf. Each one was a member of a species that shouldn't be partnering with the other 2. I raised my sword in one hand and my gun in the other, and I commanded the stone to sink into my skin for safekeeping. Then I turned to my 3 opponents. I'll never let you have it. Give up now. They would fight for the stone. I darted away and I didn't look back. Someone hit me and I fell to the ground. I rolled to the side and jumped back to my feet. The vampire appeared in front of me. He would be faster and stronger, but the demon was the strongest of the 3. I conjured an ultraviolet blade. Blue luminescence burst forth on my katana. The vampire charged, but I moved to the side and sliced his chest with my magic sword. Ah! The vampire screamed. You bitch! He charged again. He'd either never faced a witch warrior in combat or he was a fool. There was, of course, the 3rd option. He could be a pureblood born a vampire. In that case, my sword could only slow him down. Witch warriors are trained to be the best. We never know what we will encounter on our missions, so the Coven trains us in all warrior skills, whether hand-to-hand combat or weaponry. We also learn the strengths and weaknesses of all the species. The werewolf joined the vampire. I'm going back. Leave me with the stone, the beast cried. Great. Now I had to fight 2 at the same time. I grabbed my gun and cast a spell. Argentum indicibus excitant. The silver light enveloped my gun, and I fired. I missed the werewolf by an inch. That's a warning, dog. Stop, or the bullet goes to your head next time. He bared his teeth. As I thought. He charged again, but the demon bore down on us. Fuck. My teleport circle wasn't close enough. I needed one less enemy to fight. The vampire healed slowly. The magic of my sword made sure of it. So I took aim at the werewolf. Give it back to us. The deep growl of the demon filled my ear. I gagged as a disgusting stench filled the air. Why on earth did the demon smell like that? How could the werewolf, with his enhanced sense of smell, tolerate it? I squeezed the trigger. My bullet hit the target. The werewolf yelped and fell on the ground. The vampire stood beside the demon and they glanced at each other. I tried to back toward my circle in the forest. The vampire lunged at me. I fired several more shots but missed all of them. He reached for something hidden behind his back. You must die. Meet my witch killer. You'll enjoy its effect on you. Oh, fuck. Not that. I'd heard about witch killers, those feisty, murderous little dark fairies, but I've never had to fight one. Between the witch killer and the demon I was about to be, in deep shit. I never knew that a dark fairy would pledge herself to a vampire. I tried to remember my species studies and training. Fuck. That didn't help. That stone doesn't belong to you, I yelled. Then I fled into the forest. I had to reach my magic circle and get the toadstone to the coven. That was my number one priority. If other paranormal species were cooperating to achieve a goal, something bigger was going on, some larger plan. The middle of the Amazon rainforest wasn't the best place to investigate the mystery. Witch warriors traveled around the world wherever our missions took us. It wasn't the first time different members of species and factions worked together toward the same goal. But with the Supernatural Intelligence Agency, we were investigating the newest occurrence, digging to find the answer. I was almost in the travel circle. A few more steps would get me out of this place. Don't go further! Give us the stone! The vampire yelled from nearby. How come the vampire could stand the sunlight? A chant filled the air. No, a witch. She was casting a protective spell on the vampire. Why would she work with them? No, you're not going to have it. My lungs burned from all the running and casting, but I pressed forward. Ahead, my transport circle waited. As long as I breathed, the circle would remain. I'd already beaten the werewolf, and the injured vampire fought more slowly with the wound from my katana. More opponents approached. The dark fairies caught up with me. The leader sneered. You think you can get rid of me? The witch screamed. She summoned her magic. I ran faster. That circle was the only way out. The situation was getting out of hand as more reinforcement arrived. Outnumbered and exhausted, I fought, pushing myself even as my energy drained away. The demon advanced. Alone, my katana couldn't pierce the demon's thick skin, but with the help of a lava enchantment spell, I sliced through his arm. He screamed, grabbing his wrist. I still needed to beat the witch. She protected that vampire. If I could halt her spell casting, I'd be able to end the vampire. I dodged him, but the witch remained. I rushed at her with my sword held forward. One shifter grabbed my weapon, but he let me go when I kicked him in the balls. The witch blinked at me and then teleported out of my reach, stopping her incantation. I peppered 2 of the 4 attacking shifters with magic bullets and started casting a spell to bind the witch's mouth, but one of the 2 remaining werewolves hit me and interrupted my casting. I bolted away. I had to neutralize that witch. My sword flamed in a magic power of its own as it cut into her arm, but the witch's magic protected her, and my vicious slash that should have severed a limb left only a scratch. A werewolf's shove slammed me into the ground. He landed on top of me, his saliva dripping on my face. Another werewolf tried to capture my weapon, but I held on to it. They had a protection spell that prevented me from touching them. I kicked like a madwoman and eventually managed to scramble away. From my left, a figure, big and fast, barreled toward us and came to a stop beside me. Need help? Newcomer asked. I pointed my gun and thrust my katana toward him. Hey, I'm not with them. I've been watching and I think you're outnumbered, he teased. I wasn't in the mood for joking. What the fuck are you teasing me about? He was some kind of shifter with a very old aura. Now is not the time, I added. The werewolves came at us then, but my new friend avoided them easily. Bad dog, he told one of them as he punched him right on the nose, shattering the snout. I stared. I had to join in the fight, but I gaped instead. How was he able to crush, not just break, a werewolf's nose like that? The werewolf yipped in pain, and the others backed away, making space between them and the new threat. I was tempted to let him deal with the rest. He seemed strong enough to neutralize them, and I still had a mission. but I was so out of focus, and one of the other werewolves attacked me with the help of the dark fae. That bitch. The attacker reached for the stone embedded in my skin. I conjured a spell and re-secured the stone. A magic bullet waited in the gun I held with my other hand. I sneered at the two. Fighting it out was my only option. "You will not have it," I screamed at them. My new fear for now ran toward me. He had his fun with the other werewolves, but this one was big and enhanced by that dark fae. I was drained, my casting getting weaker. I hadn't slept at all for 2 days. I glanced at the shifter, the man from nowhere. "Need help," I said. "What's that?" he asked. I didn't like the situation at all, and I didn't like asking, but now he teased me with it. He smiled at me, but the demon appeared behind him. The demon punched him, and the man took the full blast. He spun around to face the demon. If he was happy moments earlier, he wasn't then. He cracked his neck. "You're a fucker, you know that, demon? I will teach you some manners." He launched himself at the demon, fists flying, jabbing and punching. What kind of shifter was he? My circle was close, but the two werewolves blocked my path. I ran toward them, shooting with my gun, but they dodged each projectile. One advanced on me, his claws and fangs out. I attacked him with my katana, and he yelped with each cut. My chest heaved, not only from the run and fight, but from my magic stamina being almost gone. I studied the mysterious shifter. He was gorgeous by all means, his body stretched, his muscles rippling in the fight. Something changed in his aura, too subtle to pinpoint. I had never seen anything like him before. I turned toward my circle and ran. My mission was my priority. The decision to leave him behind made my heart twinge, but he'd be able to manage it. I was sure of it.